Whoops. Okay. So I can see all of you. So welcome to the session. And just get yourselves comfortable on your mats. Do I need my glasses? Possibly, so I can see a little bit more. If you're on a dome, if you just want to come off the dome, those of you in the studio. Otherwise, if your low back's feeling particularly uncomfortable, please have your feet flat on the floor just to take a little bit of tension out of your lumbar spine. Otherwise, you can lie out in Shavasana. Lift the upper back off the floor and just place the shoulders down. Have a little wiggle into the mat. Just let the hips have a little bit of a roll. And just settle in, settle down. Let your fingers curl, let your thumb just meet your first finger. And begin to observe the natural ebb and flow of your breathing. Without changing it, we're just watching the breath for a little while. Letting your breath just be. And just taking a few moments just to remind ourselves what we need from the session this evening, depending on whether you've been ultra busy, physical, active, sedentary, tired, fatigued, ill. Just check in with what your energy's like. And then begin to notice which part of your body's moving as you breathe. So are you right up under the shoulders or in the shoulders? Your shoulders going up as you breathe in and out. Can you feel your ribs expanding? Can you feel your belly expand? So again, just notice where you've got some movement. Notice how expansive it feels in those areas, in the chest, the ribs, the belly. Does it feel a bit like you're wearing a corset? Have you eaten rather a lot over the festive season? And slowly begin to rotate the head from left to right. Noticing how far round you can rotate your head. Notice if it feels free, easy, straining at all, tense or stiff. And then just come back to neutral. And then just let your legs do some windscreen wipers. If your legs are long or if your feet are flat, you can just let your legs go a little bit east to west. But just let that movement come into the pelvis, the legs, and then settle back to neutral. And then draw the soles of the feet together and let those thighs drop open away from the midline. So line the toes up if you've got socks on, perhaps take your socks off. Notice how your thighs drop open, how that feels in that inner diamond shape area coming into the pubic bone, the pelvis, the genitals, the whole of that area in terms of that lower pelvic area. How does it feel letting your knees drop open? And then just bring the knees up to the ceiling, have the feet hip width apart, and just let the pelvis roll, flatten out. So you're drawing your pubic bone towards your navel. So you're bringing your hips towards your ribs. So it's a very small pelvic movement, just north to south. Check that your feet are flat on the floor. So you're just doing a small roll, north to south. And then draw the knees together, the ankles together, and take both the knees over to the right, and the head goes left. And then just draw the navel into the spine a little bit, as if you were holding a small brace. Bring the knees up and let the knees drop the other way. And can you keep the shoulders down, or do the shoulders pop up as you roll from one side to the other? So just do a few as a bit of a check-in. Noticing if your knees begin to scissor apart, or can your legs go one way and then the other, and then come back to the center. Feet flat on the floor, slowly round the pelvis upwards, and then lift the hips up, come up into a little bit of a shoulder bridge. And can you feel the base of the big toe, the little toe, and the heel? Fold the left leg in and place the left foot on the ceiling. And then just place that back down. Notice how heavy your legs feel, how stable your pelvis feels. So just do 2 to each side as your check-in. Notice if you're anchoring your body by drawing your head and neck into the floor, and then just wheel the spine back down. Take hold of the knees and then roll up like a little ball. See how close you can draw the knees to the nose. If you put on any extra padding over the festive season, you may find that this feels a little bit tight, rolling up like a little ball. If you're feeling particularly stiff, how close can you get? So tuck the chin in and again, roll forward, and then keep hold of the knees, and let's just come into some hip circles. So take one hand on the front of each kneecap, and you're going to push the knees away and then do some hip circles. So we've got some hip movement, a little bit of spinal movement, and then change direction. So then as you're pulling the knees in, you can hitch your shoulders up a little bit and then lengthen the arms. So you can almost begin to feel the shoulder blades making contact, massaging into the floor. And then change direction again. And then slide one leg away and notice how flat out you can lengthen that leg. Can you extend that outstretched knee and keep the other knee pulled in? So really push out through the heel, flex the toes in towards the nose. And then bring that leg in and then change legs. So take hold of the opposite knee, place the foot flat on the floor, slide that leg away, push out through the heel. See if you can straighten the leg as much as possible. Pull that knee in. And then pop that leg down, cross that opposite ankle over the knee, and then just use your hands to come into the figure 4 stretch. So let that leg drop out to the side. So you've brought that leg up, that's it. And Denise, if you can cross that other leg over, you may not be able to, but yeah, so you're not crossing it over like that. You're just crossing the ankle joint and just let that thigh drop open so you can see space between your thighs. Notice how that feels with that rotation in the hip. And then place that foot down, change legs. And does that feel fairly even as you push that thigh out? Does it go about the same distance, or does one hip feel more inhibited than the other? That's it. So Annette, we're not actually doing the figure 4 stretch, we're pushing it out. So if you have a little look, what we're doing is that we're just pushing that knee in, pushing it out, just to see what movement you've got, as opposed to just holding on to that supported leg. Okay, and then place the feet flat down. So let's place our fingers below our belly buttons, and we're going to just take 3 belly breaths. Notice how connected you feel to your fingers. Can you let that lower hand rise up as you breathe in? Let your belly expand as you breathe out. Let it drop. Breathing in through the nose, out through the nose, or out through the mouth. How much can you connect to that area? Just take a few breaths, see how that feels. And then just squish your fingers, thumbs at the back, fingers at the front. Feel that space between your pelvis and your lower ribs. And then you're just mobilizing that tissue. So dig your fingers in a little bit, nip the filling. Notice it feels a bit broader, a little bit more padding perhaps. See how that feels, how gushy, how squishy does it feel? And then find the bottom of the ribs, make contact with those fingers, and you're going to start with the diaphragm activation. So we're going to come up into the upside down Y. Getting your fingers right onto that, almost that corner, right on the bottom of the ribs. If it's awkward doing both at the same time, you can do one side or the opposite side. Feel your hands expanding down into that space where your fingers are making contact. So make contact with your brain, your fingers, your breath. That's it. A couple of areas feel particularly tender. Just hold them, breathe. Expand into those areas. If you can hook on and get onto the borders and the edges, you may find that some of that feels a bit gristly. Make contact. Breathe. Let your belly expand, gradually working your way up towards the xiphoid process. Bottom of the sternum. There's a little bony, notchy bit there. It can often feel super sensitive down to where your solar plexus are. Okay, hook onto those edges. You might find pushing into the opposite border useful. Let your fingers expand. Taking your fingers in, rubbing up and down. And then into those intercostal spaces, work your way up your sternum to allow your belly to expand. Again, opposite side might be easier. You don't have to do both sides at the same time. Imagine you're scraping the flesh off the bone a little bit in between those rib spaces. Work north to south, east to west. Find your breath. Your neck's getting uncomfortable, just move your head around, move your jaw around a little bit. And come right up to the base of the neck. If you're doing one side, work your way up the other side. Let your belly expand. Your diaphragm moves out, it pushes your fingers out. Is that feeling tender today, anybody? Might feel a bit more sore if you haven't done any of this for a while. So yeah, notice if you've been doing quite a lot of this, have you given it a bit of a break? You had a bit of a holiday? Have you been religiously doing it? Have you had a respiratory condition? How's that feeling? So just a chance to check in with where you're at now. So again, all the way up under the collarbone. And then just lift the arms off and just have a few belly breaths. Then place your fingers in your belly button, go a couple of inches out and down. If you want to lift your shirt up to get skin on skin, feel free. You can do a two for one-er, or you can just support one hand. You're going to be hooking up and down. So a couple of inches out and down from your belly button, pressing in towards the floor, small circles, or hooking down and up, or up and down. Getting into your hip flexor activation. And again, breathe, find your breathing. Pressing down. So you want to go in, meet the skin, meet the fat, meet the muscle, push in as far as you can, and then begin to mobilize. Don't go in from the top moving. Find your breath in that space. Done one side, begin to do the other side. Let yourself breathe, breathed. Okay, and then just place your fingers below your belly button. We're going to do 20 breaths. So you can do in through the nose, out through the mouth, in and out through the nose, Teletubby breathing, or smoke a joint breath. A selection of all three is good. What gives you the most connection? Let there be a bit of space to suck air in through your fingers. Do a bit of everything if you haven't done it for a while. Teletubby breathing right into the top of the head, just pressing in without moving. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. 1 week, something might connect you more than something else. It's not always going to be the same. I completely lost count. So just do another 3 or 4 breaths wherever you are. You may have done 20, you may have done less, you may have done more. See if you can get up to about 20. And then just hug your knees in, give the back a little bit of a massage. Pull your knees across so you're going around like that square, one way and the other. And then do some hip circles, just 2 or 3 in each direction. And then place the feet down, and then find the shoulders, and then just rub your fingers up the back of the neck, get into that occipital ridge, and we're going to do some glute activation. If you're comfortable lying down, do it. Stay lying down. If you would rather sit up, you can sit up and do it. So dig into that occiput, thumbs in, fingers in, move it all around, and then work your way from your occiput all the way around. So literally that sort of point where your head is balanced on your neck. So work your way all the way around to the back of the ears. So you can stay lying doing it, just sitting up so that you can see where I am if you're not sure. Hook your fingers in behind the jaw, come into that pivot point. Open your mouth, up and down. Waggle your jaw east to west. And then come into the front of the ear. And then just there's a little sort of notchy point, move your jaw side to side. Up and down. And then you're pressing the fingers in. Imagine you were sort of trying to widen that gap a little bit. Get into the masseter muscle, so drop just below your cheekbones. Pressing in. You're going to go north to south, open the mouth, up and down. And then work your thumbs underneath the cheekbone, right the way almost to those nasal labial folds, so where the outside of your nostrils are, under your cheekbone. Work across underneath the cheeks. And then just use your thumbs or fingers or knuckles just to get onto the apple of the cheekbone and just twist it around a little bit. So you're feeding into the apple of your cheeks, rubbing up and down. And then drop straight down to the outer corners of your mouth. And then massage the root of the teeth, working your way back towards the jaw. Little circles. And then literally the square part of the jaw, hook your fingers in again. Let your elbows drop out a little bit on towards the floor. And then nod up and down. It might make you cough, or it might salivate a little bit as you're moving up and down. And then take hold of your earlobes and then just move your earlobes around, do little circles one way, circles the opposite way, and then pull your ears out a bit like Dumbo. And then work your fingers right the way up, soft part of the ears, pulling your ears, soft part of your ears out. So you're then coming right to the top of the ears, again, some little circles, pulling everything out. To the sides, down at a diagonal. And then back up into the occiput, and then finish off with a little bit more occipital movement. So work your fingers east to west, let your head move side to side a little bit. Okay, and then just hug your knees in, roll up like a little ball. Do that a few times. Place the feet flat on the floor. Roll the pelvis north to south. Notice if that feels any freer. And then we're going to come up into the glute bridge. So come up into the glute bridge, fold the left leg in, place the left foot on the ceiling. Keep the hips up, fold that back down. Just do 2 to each side again as another little check-in. Perhaps grab your own buttocks just to get a sense that you can feel that they're engaging a little bit. Couple to each side. And then just wheel the spine back down. Take hold of your knee, bring yourself up. Are we a bit warm in here? Shall I turn the heating down or is it okay? It's okay, okay. So grab your alpha ball. I'm just going to open a window. I know it seems a bit strange that we're heating the outside, but we'll have a bit of fresh air as well as a nice bit of warm room. So grab your alpha, folks. Options to do it on your elbows if you want to. So grab your alpha. Let's carry on with the glutes. You can really lean back quite a long way. You can come onto your elbows. You can lie down to do it. Check your breathing. Do some small circles. Work your way around the edge of the hip a little bit. Feel free to come onto the side. If you've got a bruised bottom, you may only want to do one side. You've been chucking yourself around a little bit. So again, work up to just below the sacroiliac joint, do a few little circles, come across east to west, do some contract relax, squeeze and release. Have you got dehydrated buttocks? Are they feeling leathery and a bit dried and gnarled? Or are they feeling peachy? Peachy and plump? So, squeeze and release. Squeeze and release. You can also plow through at a bit of an angle. So rather than skimming across the top of the ball, you may want to sort of feel like you're plowing through at a bit more of a diagonal angle. Okay, so do a selection of things. Okay. Remember, you can also come onto the side. You can prop yourself up on your foot. And you can also be fairly passive with it, where you just let that leg drop in and out. So if you've never actually done this part of a sequence before, then just squeeze your leg open and release. Squeeze it open and release. So as you're squeezing it open, you're contracting and release. Contract and release. You can take the ball a little bit lower, perhaps contract, release. Keep the other side of the pelvis down. Contract, release. Okay. And then just peel that ball out. Let your feet flop onto the floor or let your feet touch the floor. Just notice, take some time to notice how that is, sorry. And perhaps just let your legs lengthen, just, Notice how flat you perhaps feel to the floor. Let that leg roll in, roll out. You may feel a little bit more connected with it. Do the other leg, may feel a bit more ratchety. And then let's get ourselves up to do the other side. So start again with sitting up again, and then take yourself through the sequence that you did pretty much with what you did on the first buttock. If the alpha's feeling too much, remember you can use a pair of toted balls, but you have to change the angle of the balls because obviously it doesn't roll as easily, but you spread the load. So again, do some small circles, one way and the other, come across. Think about different multi-angles of movement. A little bit of a roll about. Again, some squeeze and release, contract, relax. Notice if you're squeezing your nostrils, your eyebrows, your teeth. You can also just sort of go really slowly again, plowing through at a bit of an angle. So as if you're spreading tissue, different planes of movement. Also some contract, relax, squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. Or contract, relax, contract, relax. You can also come onto the side seams. Those of you who really like the lateral hip stuff, can be a bit committing, but get behind the pelvic bones, drive the leg into the floor. Okay, so pretty much, hopefully you've done a bit of one thing on balance both sides up, and then place the feet flat on the floor. Let the knees go one way, the head goes the other way. Bit of rotation, one side and the other. And then cross one ankle over the knee, push that leg out. Coming back into that little check-in just to see how that feels as you let that leg drop out to the side again. Do the other leg out to the side again. Notice how that feels. And then place the feet down. Find your pubic bone on the inside of the pelvis. So you're going to find the inside of the pelvic bones, and you're going to work your fingers down towards the pubic bone. So imagine you were following where literally the line of where your legs attach to your pelvis. So just rub up and down. So you're literally following into this area. So if you're not sure where I am, you're following straight the way down the inside of the pelvis. Okay, you're lying down to do it. So work all the way almost down towards the pubic bone, and where the sort of everything feeds into the front of the pubic bone on the inside of the pelvis and the hips. Have a little bit of a roll into there. Okay. And then go from a line which is like the edge of the six pack, going from the bottom of the ribs straight up and down. Again, you might want to get fingers, thumbs, knuckles up and down the side of the six pack. So you're moving and mobilizing all of the gut tissue down the edge of the six pack. And then I want us to go east to west across the whole lot. So fix in and mobilize east to west between those two lines. That's it, east to west across it all. And then cross that ankle over your knee, reach through and come into the figure four stretch and bend that leg in. You can tuck the chin in, see if you can get the knee towards the nose, nose towards the knee. And do a few little circles. One way and the other, pulling that knee in. One way and the other. And then change legs, reach through, pull that supporting knee in, do some circles. And then just untangle yourselves, bend your legs up, and you're going to rub from the pubic bone right up to the medial knee joints. So use your knuckles, and you're going to rub up your inner thighs. Rub, 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 all the way up and down. Rub, rub, rub. And then keep the knees in. Fix your fingers into the just below the kneecaps. And then you're going to extend your legs up and down, just holding on to just below your kneecaps as you extend your legs up and down. And then let your legs bend, and then find the head of the fibula, which is on the outside bony bit. So come off the kneecap. There's a little drop space just on the outside of your kneecap onto the inside of the head of the fibula, and just dig your fingers in there a little bit. And then just rub your fingers down the sides of your calves a little bit, up and down, side to side, down the shins, Round the kneecaps again. And then just let the arms drop off to the sides, and then just bend and kick the knees up and down. And then place the feet flat on the floor, and let's do a little bit of that pelvic rocking again. So hips towards the ribs, east to west. Belly breathe. Squeeze the breath out as you imagine you're trying to join the bottom of the pelvis towards the lower ribs. Okay, and then just nip the filling, as it were, make space between the top of the pelvis and the lower rib cage again. Making it nice and gushy, soft. Okay, take hold of one knee. Let's bring ourselves up and have your gorgeous ball to hand. So come over onto your, whoopsie, my balls are running away, excuse me, whoopsie. So keep your gorgeous ball to hand, come over actually onto your tummies and just see how your pubic bone feels on the floor, and with a little bit of ability to come into a little bit of extension. So can you nestle your pubic bone in, get a sense of what your extension feels like, either in Sphinx or in Cobra, pushing up and down. Just see what you've got as a check-in. So we're actually going to do guts first, as opposed to back. So stick the ball underneath your belly button, stay on your elbows. You can rest your head on your hands if you want, otherwise just look forward. So it's just above your pubic bone. Can you breathe in through your nose? Connect down into the ball. You have got the option, yes, to lie completely over the ball. Feel that connection to your lower abdomen as you breathe in and out. And then we're just going to do a few rounds of contract relax. We're going to take a big breath into the ball. And then you're going to squeeze and pull everything into the balls. You're not pushing out, you're pulling in. Hold, brace for a few seconds. And then just release. Breathe out, let your body descend over the ball again. And again, take another breath. Just pull everything in, have a little bit of a brace. And then release. Let everything go soft. Let yourself melt over the ball a little bit more. Again, breathe in. Squeeze it all into the ball, internal brace. And that internal brace is, imagine you're clearing your throat. So you're going to feel those lower abdominals engage a little bit, brace. And then just release. And now breathe normally. And just feel if that dent of the ball is getting a little bit deeper into your pelvic viscera. And then we're going to roll from front of pelvic bone to front of pelvic bone. So you're just working your way across, literally from one hip to the other. You can come into a short leg by keeping your knees up, or you can rest your head on your hands. That's a little bit more awkward because you've got more body weight over it, just to sort of let yourself drift east to west. And again, notice how bracing, how tight, stiff, whether you've put on a little bit, few extra poundage. Okay, so just work your way through that pelvic bowl, lower belly. You're comfortable working across down towards the pubic bone area. In the front of one hip a little bit, you may just want to nestle in a little bit and just let yourself drape over the ball. Getting into some of those deep hip flexor areas, onto the inside of the pelvis, lower part of the rib cage. Imagine you're stretching your waist on one side. And perhaps do a little pelvic tuck under, so you can actually squeeze your pubic bone underneath, so you're lengthening your lumbar spine a little bit. If you've done one side, if you're comfortable going across to do the other side, then just take the ball across to the other side. Have a few breaths. Again, try and tuck your pubic bone underneath the ball, so you're lengthening your lumbar spine, squeezing your glutes underneath. Consciously have a few breaths into that space where the ball is on the inside of one side of your pelvis. And then just come off the ball, have a few breaths without the ball being there. Breathe into that imaginary ball, ebb and flow. And let your lumbar spine release. Then come up into a Sphinx or a Cobra again. Have a little notice to see if you've gained a little bit more extension. And then push yourself up onto your hands and knees, scooch the tailbone under, round the back, and then flatten out. Round the back, and flatten out. Round the back, and flatten out. And then come over onto your back. If you want to have a sip of water, because we've done belly already, then have a sip of water. Are we all right temperature-wise, guys? And here, is it too hot? Getting warm. Okay, I might just turn the studio down just a touch. Okay, so we're going to use our quadrus balls. We're going to get into the back of the shoulder blades. It's unusual for it to feel that warm in here, isn't it? It is a bit. Let me just turn it down a notch. There we go. So grab your soft ball. Let's stick it into the shoulder blades, or sort of, no, it's not, well, put your bottom down on the floor so it's actually lower than your shoulder blade. So let's do back of ribs. So literally you're going to scoot your hips one way, look at the opposite side of the wall, then you're going to come across. So you're combing through the back of the rib cage. And as you're doing that, you're consciously connecting your breath into the back of the body. It's like, oh, hello, back of ribs. Hello, back of lungs. I want to keep everything pliable and mobile. That sounded very American, didn't it? Mobile? Mobile? Oh. So you can also come into a little bit of twisting and compression so that you're sort of concertinaing, squeezing everything in and then expanding. Use your feet, use the sides of your hips to anchor yourself so you're not falling all over the shop. Oopsie. So you've done both sides of the ribs. Consciously compress, breathe into the sides. And then come back to center so that you're actually then going to begin to do a little bit of twisting. So this is the point. You can lift your bum up. Having to relearn how to drive. That's it. So get into a little bit of that sheer twist. Keep your head supported. Keep it nice and slow. Make sure that you're not just completely bracing everything. So you don't want to be completely loosey-goosey. You don't want to be clamped down. It's finding that happy medium between being able to balance, move, engage, breathe. Also come into some flexion extension. Keep your head supported. If you can rest your head back onto your hands and actually let your shoulders open and drop, feel free. If that feels a stretch too far, please keep your elbows in a little bit. If it's too much for your shoulders, chest, just to open up and breathe. Consciously breathe into the back of the body, the ball. And then when you want to come off, just bring the elbows in, flex forward, and then maybe that you can go a little bit higher so that the ball is higher. Just be mindful if you've got any necklaces on. So it's not quite on the neck, but it's higher up in between the shoulder blades. So it's almost just higher shoulder blades as opposed to lower. So you need to prop yourself up on your feet to get into there a little bit. You're going to feel it into the top of the shoulders. So a little bit of twisting just to mobilize some of that tissue. Okay. And then just take the ball out, come off that. Separate the shoulder blades, keep your feet flat on the floor. Spread your wings, so to speak, and just let everything broaden out and have a few breaths. Bring your feet so that they're in parallel. You're going to come up into the shoulder bridge. So round the back into the floor, lift those hips up, take the knees away from you, ground into the feet, fold the left leg in and place the left foot on the ceiling. So you don't put it overarching the back. So keep that tailbone tucked under so that you've got a nice sort of straightish back, and then just work from one side to the other. Notice how relaxed you feel through your neck and your shoulders. If you want to, you can let your head just roll side to side. That way you know you're not anchoring. Okay, whereas if you can't move your head, chances are you're anchoring to support your glutes. And also, open your mouth. So you're not clenching everything down. That's it. Try not to rock and roll. You may also want to place your hands on the front of your pelvis, your hips, just to check that it doesn't drop down one side to the other. And breathe. And then just wheel the spine back down, hug the knees in, roll up like a little ball. Let's see how close you can get. And do that a few times, rolling up like a little ball. And then take hold of your knee. Let's bring ourselves up to sitting. Sitting and then transition over onto your hands and knees. Again, a little bit of arch and curl. Make sure you feel non-slip. And then we're going to tuck our toes under and just bring ourselves into down dog. And hang out, see how close you can draw your heels. Our first sort of check-in in terms of down dog. Come up and down onto your toes, push out through the heels, and then drop forward into high plank. Tuck the tailbone under, nice flat back. Lift one leg up, lift the other leg up, lift one leg up, lift the other leg up, and then walk your feet in. So come in, so it may be that you really need to bend your knees. Walk your feet in, so your hands may be on the floor, your shins, your calves, and come into a forward bend. Crown towards the floor. Rock back and forth. Just notice how you feel through the forward bending. And then bend your knees, make a connection to your feet, and slowly uncurl joint by joint, and bring yourselves up to standing. Find your feet. Come up and down onto tiptoes. Whoops. Put your head on your neck. Extend one arm up. Notice how far back it can go. Extend the other arm up. Notice how far back it can go. Do both at the same time. See how you feel in terms of noticing how far back you can go. Okay, and then lift the arms up like that. Back of the hands coming together. And then see if you can bring one hand up and over, the other hand up and over. Notice if one hand is free of the body or the other hand gets a bit stuck. Where are we at with the shoulders? See how that is to start off with. Okay, so let's come under the clavicles again. Let's work opposite. So you're going to use your fingers and thumbs just below your collarbone. So it can be a thumb, pinch grip, right up under the clavicle. Got too many layers on, it's a bit awkward because you just feel like you're rubbing your t-shirt. Okay, Then we're going to do that karate chop movement, literally as if you were going to chop your arm off at the joint. So go up and down. It's a bit awkward. I've got too many layers on. But yeah, go up and down. Breathe at the same time and literally work your way down into the meat of these pecs. And then grab hold of it and then just take it out as a bit of an angle. So you're pinning, pulling it in, pin and stretch. Pin, stretch. Karate chop movement, pin, stretch, pin, stretch. Is that nice? Bit uncomfortable? That's it. So pick it all up, get under the armpit a little bit. Then you're going to rub up and down, fingers or knuckles, depends on how long your arms are, up and down. Or you may find that you can actually do it like this, but probably use the opposite fingers, up and down the ribs, a bit of a rub, rub, rub. And then under the pec, breast tissue a little bit. Again, you might find that you can do it like this, or you scoop under, get into the lower part of the ribs, make contact with that rib cage, press in, breathe. Okay. And you're going to, so you've done a big scoop all the way around. Now lift that arm up. And just do a little bit of that movement. Hopefully feels a little bit easier. Okay, let's do the other side, under the clavicle. So literally find your collarbone, fix in, there's a little tiny trough in there. Is that tender? Okay, so if you could actually mobilize that tissue, if it feels super tender, just fix in. Again, find your breath. Ooh, one side might feel definitely a lot more tender than the other. Notice if you feel like you're straining a little bit. Then you're going to do the karate chop movement. Meet the tissue, so you don't want to just be rubbing your t-shirt. All the way down. I've got my mic that side, so I'm going to be looking like I'm doing something slightly different because I don't want to dislodge the mic, but literally fix in, pin, grab hold of it, pin, and move out from some different angles. So it's a local pin and stretch, pin, stretch, pin, stretch, pull it in, mobilize it, and then begin to work your way up down the side seam. Again, fingers, knuckles. This is also similar to where we use the ball work, the ball on the wall. Okay, so just get into those ribs. If you've got the shoulder range to get into it like that, you might find that works because you can really apply some pressure if your arms aren't long enough. Up and down, up and down. And then scoot your fingers up under the breast tissue, up under sort of the bottom of the ribs. But you might need to just move your chest out the way slightly. Or you're just mobilizing everything that feeds into the chest wall. And breathe. So you've literally done a complete circle, haven't you? We did the upside down Y earlier. Okay. Move your shoulders around a little bit. Does that feel any different? That changed anything for anybody? A little bit? Yes, no, maybe? See how you go. So do some shoulder circles. Forwards and backwards. And then we're going to grab our straps. Find your long strap. And again, forwards and backwards. Make sure it's of the right length, that you've got a little bit of tension in it. You don't want it to be too short. You feel like you're going to dislocate your shoulder. Oof. And then what we're going to do is you're going to go pull the strap apart. Pull the strap apart with straight arms as much as possible. So one hand down towards the floor, the other hand extending up to the ceiling. Keep some tension on the strap, pull apart. And then back. And then just do some paddling with a straight paddle. Digging in, pulling back, digging in, back, in, back. So you do need to keep a little bit of tension on the strap. Pull, 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 pull. And then we're going to go backwards, 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 backwards. Imagine you've got like a paddle full of water that you're trying to push forward towards the front of the boat. And then we're going to do up and over and then change at the back and come round. So your top hand becomes your bottom hand, top, bottom hand becomes top. And as well, because you've got to concentrate and focus on what you're doing, breathe. And then once you've got that happening, then you're going to change direction. So literally see if you can change direction at the back before you spin around. Otherwise, you tendency is to go a bit fast and things begin to go a little bit out of whack. And then come back to forwards and back, forwards and back. Move the shoulders around, throw your strap on the floor. One arm up and over, the other arm up and under. See how far you can get. If you do need to use your strap, then do. See what you've got. Feet in parallel without throwing your hips out. So joint stack. Breathe. And then go the other side. See how far you can get. You may feel that you can definitely do it one side, not on the other side. See what you've got. And then come off that. Let's grab our balls. Let's do a little bit of forearm work, bicep work. Pull them in. So doing a strong bicep curl and then twiddling your fists. Up to you whether you use the small or the medium ones. If you can get the balls close to a bit of flesh, it's great because you're actually going to feel like you're actually mobilizing those pronators, supinators. That's it. Has anybody got any speed bumps? Bit gadunky, gadunky. That's it. Mine's definitely speed bumpy today. So you might find that you just sort of do almost like a twisting action. And then come into the back of the arm. So bend back of the arms in. So it's like that one. Now, if you find that it's quite awkward to hold your hand in, you might just want to apply a little bit of pressure here just to support it, to do that movement. Ooh. Means it's a bit more hard, That sounds like really bad English, doesn't it? A bit harder to do. A bit more hard? Is there such a word as a bit more? Hard. Okay. Again, do some circles, just sort of pin, mobilize, move. Take it out. And guess what? We're going to do the other side. Again, if you can get a bit of flesh, because the toe of the balls really likes to grip some skin as opposed to 5 layers of sweater. So you're pinning and then you're twisting. Twist, twist. Speed bumps as well. And as you're concentrating and having so much fun, again, are you breathing? So we've done it definitely in a bicep curl. Now we're going to bring it into opposites. The other thing about moving into some different positions is obviously you've still got more tension and angles of doing it as opposed to just doing this. As soon as you start beginning to do this, you're bringing in other areas that are then going to tension. Okay. Oh. Shake that out. Have a look at your arms. You may notice that you've got dents in your arms now from where the balls have been. And then have another go, seeing if you can do this one. Find your breath. Has that changed anything? Anybody? No? So it may have done, may not have done. See what you've got. Pronate, supinate. Come back down onto the floor. Grab a ball. Grab a couple of bricks if you want to. We're going to do a little bit of forearm work. Okay, so back of the arms. So you can use 1 brick or 2 bricks to get into the back of the arms. Plow through. 2 bricks might suit you a bit better than 1. You can also support your hand to make it a passive movement that you're folding your wrist in with the other hand. Get into the karate chop, just avoid the carpal tunnel. Little space just on the underside of your wrist. Roll through, palm up, palm down. See if you can get the blocks fairly close to you. So you can actually get into a little bit of tricep. So let the elbow joint sort of meet into the middle of the balls and drop into the back of the upper arm, coming down into the elbow joint. And again, you can do a little bit of a pin and stretch. If that feels awkward, you might need to sort of change your position a little bit to actually get there. If it feels totally awkward doing it on the floor, you can do it on the wall. But get into, yeah, you might need to really angle yourself from a couple of different angles to get into the triceps. Almost like a local pin and stretch. So you've done the back of the arm into the back of the wrist. Because we've done the underbelly of the arm, as it were. We're doing the outer edge of the arm. Got a watch on, you need to take your watch off probably, and let's get ready to do the other side. So yeah. You can sit with your legs out outstretched, crossed, kneeling. Make a fist, pin. Feed into the elbow joint, palm up, palm down. Check that you're breathing, you're not holding your breath. Do almost like a little bit of a fishtail movement, get into a karate chop movement. So you're getting into the edge of the lower arm bone, into the little finger side of your wrist, back of the arm. Back of the arm. And then above the elbow joint, plow in. Again, you might need to move your position a little bit so that you can actually begin to get into your tricep, rolling up and down, and also doing some local pin and stretch into the tricep. Again, pin, stretch, triceps, elbow joint, fishtail. You can actually plow through from a different angle so that, again, you're just mobilizing everything down towards the wrist. Imagine you've got a really tight t-shirt on that you're pulling and stretching, and you're just decompressing nerves. That's it. Move everything out the way. As we're down here and in this position, let's come into a down dog, see what difference that's made in terms of doing some shoulders. You might think, oh, that's easier. You might think, no, it's not easier. But what do you notice? What's that done for your system in terms of feeling connected with your hands? Drop forward into high plank. You may feel more grounded, more stable. Extend your legs, one leg and the other. And then just walk your feet in. Bring yourselves up to standing. Move your shoulders around a little bit. Grab our straps. And let's just go through a little bit of that sequence again. Just do a few of each. And just check in, have a recheck to notice if that's changed anything for you in terms of mobility or feeling just a bit more connected, or does it feel stronger, more positive? More coordinated, less coordinated? So yeah, check in. What does that give you? So yeah, what does that do for your system? Has that improved or changed anything? Hopefully you don't feel worse. Is it easier for anybody? Yes, no? Yeah, not sure. I feel easier, a lot easier in my right side. Don't feel like I'm going to go into cramp with my arm up my back. So yeah, pronate, supinate, see what your arms feel like, waggle your fingers, come up and down onto tiptoes. Let's take our weight over onto our left foot, come into a tree. You can either be pressing the palms together, wrist extension, thumbs pressed into the breastbone, hands up, or you can bring your foot up your leg. Pick something in your line of vision to look at. And steady and focus the breathing. Coming back to the breath. You're aware of your fingers pressing into each finger, your foot on your leg, your breathing. Keep coming back to being present. And slowly come down. Weight bear over onto the other side. Micro bend in that leg. Choose the foot position. Again, pick something, focus your gaze on something that's not moving about. Steady breathing. Coming back. Coming back to your breath, regular breathing. And then just come down. Lift those legs up and down. We're going to do a bit of a foot roll out, but before we do, just come into a couple of squats. Feel how connected to the floor you feel. Also come into a forward bend, see how that feels. Forward bend and a squat. And then keep the balls in the tote. Roll up and down. Do the side of the foot. Roll through the whole of the sole of the foot. Apply some pressure. You can just step over, weight bear as much as is comfortable. Roll, inner edge, outer edge with some twisting. You might want to take the sole of the foot across onto one ball as opposed to just the middle to get a little bit more pressure through the center of the arch. And then sort of stand with the toe joints as if you're trying to actually get the toes to actually touch the ball, but they're not quite going to touch. So you're really working at squeezing, but they're squeezing in space. And then come into some extension. So you're going to drop your weight off the back, get the base of the toes down, come into some toe extension, put your head on your neck, weight bear through both feet, and a small movement by just extending a little bit more toes. So don't take such a big step that you feel like you're going to pull your toe off. Up and down, pushing off that back heel a little bit. So if you were going to step through, so you're actually stepping through, stepping through, stepping through. Okay, just come off that briefly. Plant your foot down. Notice how that is. Spread the toes. See how your weight transference is. Come up and down onto tiptoes. And then change feet. And breathe. And if you haven't done this for a while, it may feel particularly gnarly. Might feel a bit sore, stiff, tight, bruised. Sensitive. All sorts. So again, you might just want to take one ball into like the right middle of the arch. Get into the outer edges. Invert the foot, work your way right the way down to the little toe side up to the outer edge of the heel. Medial, base of the big toe, up the arch. Just below the ankle bone, medially. Some twisting. Some standing, some extension. Then imagine you're trying to pull the ball underneath you, but your toes have got nothing to grip. Then drop off. Make sure the balls aren't going to suddenly pop out the end. And you might need to sort of literally just fix them there briefly. Stand, weight bear through both feet. Drop into the base of the toes, like here. And again, without falling forward, push off that back heel a little bit. Check that your glutes are engaging just to actually step through. My balls are about to pop out, so let yourself rock back and forth, keeping the hips open as opposed to flexing forward. Okay, and then just shove those out the way. Find your feet, come up and down onto tiptoes. Come into a forward bend. Feel how that is. Let your weight come forwards and backwards. And then bend your knees, come up. We are going to do some squats in a minute, but let's just do back of sacrum. So get into the interglute crease, get down towards the coccyx, apply a little bit of pressure into that sacrum area, working in between sacroiliac joints, base of the sacrum, working out across the back of the pelvis a little bit. You can also go east to west into the whole of that diamond shape of the sacrum, inner part of the glutes, right where the low back feeds into the back of the pelvis. And then come into a forward bend again, or two, see how that feels. That might feel a bit, that looks a bit better, Tracy. A little bit easier. Yeah, okay. And then come into a few squats. Keep looking forward rather than looking down. Spread your toes. Feel the base of the big toe, the little toe, and the heel. Well done. And then come down onto your mats. Find yourself on your sit bones. We're going to do a sitting spinal twist. So get one leg up and over. If you don't want to twist the pelvis as much, keep the legs straight and just come into the spinal twist like this. I'm going to close the window. So you can just keep the legs square and straight. Otherwise, put your leg up and over and look round over that opposite arm. Turn the knuckles out. If the floor feels too far away from you, put your hand on a brick. Feel your belly expanding in towards your thigh. And breathe. As you squeeze the breath out, see if you can wring yourself out round to get round a little bit further. And then we're just going to come out of that. We're going to change legs, or you're just going to go to the opposite side if you're keeping the pelvis square. Turn the knuckles out if you're on your knuckles. Breathe. And as you squeeze the breath out, see if you can wind yourself up a little bit more. Get yourself around a touch further. Look in the direction you want to go so your head's not dropping down towards the floor. And then slowly just bring yourselves back round. Pop your socks and sweaters on. Get your brick and get the small set of balls. We're just going to finish on the next sequence briefly. So get yourselves comfortable. Use a small brick. Use the small balls. And come semi-supine again. Get your hair out the way. Make sure you're not going to fall off the brick. You can place the sacrum down, have the feet hip width apart, place your hands on your lower belly. And so the sequence goes like this. So we're just going to have probably about three, let's do 4 breaths of each. We haven't got a lot of time. But 4 neutral, 4 yes, focusing on the bottom of the nod, and 4 no. Coming back to 4 neutral before you slide everything off. So a total of 16 breaths before you pull everything out and just come back into Shavasana. Don't immediately start rolling around on the balls. Let the balls take the strain. You're not shouldering the weight of the world. Let yourself belly breathe. 4 neutral, 4 yes, 4 no, 4 neutral, and Shavasana. When you're ready to slide everything off, just slide it out as opposed to lifting your head up. And just let yourself be body breathed. Ebb and flow. Feeling the breath move from your belly to your ribs to your chest, and then breathing out, chest, ribs, belly. Like a wave, rolling wave moving up and down a beach. Tidal breath, ebb and flow. And when you feel that you've drifted off and you're thinking about something, let it go and come back to your breathing. And then gradually just hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little bit of a hug in. Pull the knees in before rolling over onto a side, just having a few breaths when you're rolled onto your side, and then gradually bring yourselves up to sitting. Give yourself a bit of a hug, a bit of a love, a bit of thanks just for taking some time out. And then put your head on your neck, connect to your glutes, do a couple of little gentle ninja butt squeezes, remind yourself where your seat is, let your shoulders find their happy place. And then just feel the softness of the belly breath, your hand in towards your heart area, the warmth of your hands in towards your heart and your chest. Give yourself a love. And love and hugs as well. Happy New Year, everybody. Well done. Excellent work. Well done, well done, well done. Thank you very much indeed. Welcome back. Nice to see you all. I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Well done.